So another country just upped its gold reserves. This does not look good for the overall global economy or potentially the US economy, and it's important that you understand what's going on because it could affect you directly. Hey, welcome back. My name's Ethan, and one of the things I talk about is financial security, financial freedom, investing, and wealth. And I saw an article on Zero Hedge about Serbia actually upping its gold reserves. So the president of Serbia said, hey, there's a potential crisis around the corner. We want to increase our gold reserves. Now, they had increased their gold reserves about a year ago. I think it was in 2018 as well. And they just upped their gold reserves more. I think the article, when I read it, I think they said they have 10% of their assets in precious metals, in gold. And other countries have been doing the same thing. Russia, Poland, Hungary, I believe, are three others that have done the same thing. And when countries stockpile more gold, it should send alarm signals to investors and to individuals all over the world, because gold is it's an asset of last resort. I mean, that's what countries fall back on when everything else goes to hell. When their fiat currencies, their fake currencies, and everybody has them in every country now, they're not backed by gold anymore. When their fiat currencies run into issues, ultimately, if everything goes to hell, they at least can back up to their gold reserves. And that's why companies stockpile gold, because it has been a time-tested asset, essentially, of wealth preservation. It's an asset, essentially, of last resort when everything goes wrong. So when you've got countries that are looking at the global, macro economy, and they're seeing potential warning signs out there, should send warning signals to everybody, because that's, the global economy, whether you think it does or it doesn't, it does affect everybody, because it affects every country. And when countries get affected, it means it affects you. So we are not islands. We are not isolated. This is a global economy that we live in. So if China has issues, Russia has issues, Europe has issues, it's going to flow back to the US, and we're going to see those effects here. You're going to feel those effects, in your job or at the supermarket, wherever you're spending money, wherever you're earning money, things will flow down and affect everyone. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's so important to stay attuned to the news and what is happening around the world, because if you do that, you can actually help to, secure some of your wealth, preserve some of it, and even profit from it if you pay attention to what the big rollers, I'll call them the governments and the hedge funds, the big investors out there, what they're doing with their money, with their assets. If you pay attention to that, that gives you some clues as to what you should be doing on your own. And when governments say, hey, we need to stockpile more gold, to me, that's a signal that I need to buy more precious metals. Now, I invest some of my assets into precious metals, a fairly small percentage, probably about 5% or so. But it's something that I've learned over the years by reading books, by watching videos, by learning from people who have been far more successful than I have, that having some of your assets in precious metals is so important, because it does help preserve your wealth in turbulent times. And I think everybody should have some precious metals in their portfolio, as it were. And when I say portfolio, I mean something much bigger than just the stock market or stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. I mean your overall investments in life, whether that's spread across farmland, real estate, cryptocurrency, precious metals, doesn't matter. It's all part of your portfolio, part of your total assets out there. I don't like investing in physical precious metal coins. I know a lot of people are a big fan of that, but I think that presents a security risk and a risk of loss. You might lose it, forget it. Some people want to bury their gold in the backyard. That's fine, but if you lose it or you pass away, nobody else can find it. It doesn't do anybody any good. For my precious metals investment, I like buying I'd call it virtual precious metals. It's not necessarily that, but it's more vaulted or secured, stored precious metals. So I use a company called Hard Assets Alliance for most of my metals purchases. And what happens with Hard Assets Alliance is I can go in there and I can say, okay, I want to buy a couple ounces of gold and I want it stored in Singapore or in Sydney or Salt Lake City. And they'll do that. And in my account balance, I can see what I've got, what the value of it currently is, and I get charged a small fee because they protect it, they put it in their vaults, they secure it. They've got armed guards that guard the vaults, and I don't need to deal with the security risks of precious metals. But then, like anything in life, if you don't actually own it, if you can't touch it, feel it, then it's not technically yours, and something could go wrong, and I realize that, but that's the way it is with pretty much everything in life. Aside from the house that I have and the land that I'm sitting on, you can't really protect your bank accounts. They're just digital numbers out there, and you risk basically losing pretty much everything that you have or that you'd have access to. So I don't really buy into that argument that if you don't hold it in your hands, you don't own it. I understand where people are coming from with that argument, but it doesn't really work for me. That's why I invest mostly in that secured, vaulted precious metals, hard assets alliance. And I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. I'll also put it on my website. I've written about this in my book as well. I've got a book on investing and wealth preservation. I've got that in there. A lot of other great resources too in that book. If you guys are ever interested, I've got it. It's called Perpetual Wealth. And I'll link to that book in the description of this video as well if you're interested in checking that out. But I've got a lot of videos out on investing, about wealth preservation. We've got a lot more that are coming out because I see issues in the overall economy. And I want to do my part to help educate people as to what's going on in the economy and educate them as to what they can do to prepare to protect themselves, their families through what I think is a coming crisis, whether that's a recession or a depression or economic calamity of some kind. With all the things that we have in play, with the debt, with the inflated stock market, with the pension crisis, with everything that we have going on in the world right now and in the U.S. economy, it's a time of, I think, extreme danger. And everyone, to the best of their ability, should do what they can to prepare for potentially turbulent times ahead. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting when I saw that article about Serbia upping its gold reserves, that it was another alarm signal to me that I needed to consider increasing my precious metals portfolio, increasing the amount of my investments that I have allocated toward precious metals. So that may or may not work for you, but when I look at those big warning signs around the globe, it kind of makes me think twice about what my current investing strategy is and whether or not I need to do anything to change that. And anyway, so I thought that would be helpful for you guys to know that stuff was going on. Just keep in mind that I believe that precious metals are something that everybody should have in their portfolio, whether you decide you want to invest in physical bullion or whether or not you want to do that kind of virtual vaulted segregated and secured storage that I like to go with. So anyway, that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have the best week or weekend that you can have whenever you're watching this video. And just remember, just do the best you can to prepare for yourself, your family, in whatever ways you can, and try not to worry about the overall economy too much. It's always good to stay apprised of what's happening and to be concerned when you see things are going wrong, but don't get hung up on it, and don't be fearful of it, because there's nothing you can really do about it other than just take the steps that you can to prepare for what's coming. So just keep that in mind, and you guys will be okay to the best of your ability. So anyway, thanks for watching again. Take care. We'll see you next time. Good luck.